Hey, what's up guys, Anboni here, and this is like the fourth time I'm making this video. Alright, the first time it was like a 40-minute video, I was rambling way too much, and I decided to make a shorter version, and that shorter version was like 20 minutes long, and then I was like, yes, I'm done. And then I realized my microphone was off, and then I started recording again. Luckily I stopped like midway just to see if everything's okay, and no, it wasn't okay. I was using another microphone that was turned off as well. Holy shit. Okay, this one's fine. I've tested it and we're good to go. So today we're gonna talk about talents a little bit for patch, well, not a little bit, but like actually quite intensively. We're gonna talk about shadowpriest talents for patch 7.2.5, talking about PvP and arena and 3v3. Now, not a lot of things changed in terms of talents, except for some honor talents, but the spells they affect did change. So we're gonna pick new talents. And this right here, this is my friend, the gnome PvP dummy. And if I attack it, I get the PvP templates. So for the sake of the video, I'm gonna go ahead and pick Shadow Word Void just to show you guys the exact numbers that I would get in arena, because if I stay Twist of Fate and I attack it, it doesn't have a lot of HP, and I'm gonna proc Twist of Fate, and that's inflated numbers. Alright, so let's start off. Actually, no, a few more things before we start off, because I've recorded this thing so many times, and I know exactly what I'm gonna talk about, okay? So first of all, it really depends in threes what kind of team you're playing. You can play, well, two kinds of teams, I guess. You can play a rot cleave, alright, where your goal, your win condition is to get the enemy healer out of mana and just do as much damage as possible and just rot, so as much damage as you can. And then you can go for setups, which apparently seem to be the way to go this season for shadowpriests, because we did lose a lot of our dot pressure, but we did gain some nice damage on Mind Blast and Mind Flay and Void Torrent. That's the first thing. The second thing is they actually buffed Shadow Form, where Shadow Form is now 20% physical damage reduction. If I attack this guy, you will see physical damage taken reduced by 20%. However, a lot of people know this, but I guess not everybody knows this. When you go into Void Form, you lose Shadow Form and you lose the 20% damage reduction from Shadow Form. So essentially, when you go in Void Form, you take 20% more damage, more physical damage, and that's really important. Actually, it's really important to know. Okay, so keep that in mind. And also, a last thing I wanted to mention was that I was talking to Zot, not now. I was talking to Zot about some talents. Zot is actually like a multi-rank 1, much better than myself, Shadow Priest, and he's been giving me some info about like his talent choices and what kind of comms he runs and stuff like that, because I wanted to get the best info for you guys. And if you want to watch Zot stream, he streams over on Twitch at Zot TV. That's XOT TV on Twitch. So there you go. There's your shout out if you wanted one. I don't know if you did, but hey, you have it now. Alright, so let's start off. First tier, it's really hard. It's impossible almost to beat Twist of Fate on the first tier. Shadow Word Void, even after the buff, Shadow Word Void got buffed quite a lot in PvP, and it's still only 160k damage. It's very, very bad. So it does not compare. I tried Fortress of the Mind with the idea of, I'll just do more Mind Blast damage since I'm just going for rot, but it's not even close. Twist of Fate is so much better. You get it up. So you proc Twist of Fate when you're about to kill someone, so it's really good with Reaper of Souls when you go for big setups, but it's also good for rot damage when you kill things like totems or pets. And I've even made a video dedicated to Twist of Fate and how you can proc it in different occasions. So on the first tier, there's like no question about it. Twist of Fate is the best by far. However, again, I'm gonna stay Shadow Word Void just because if I go Twist of Fate now and I attack this dummy, I'm gonna get Twist of Fate and you're gonna see inflated numbers here, and we want to see accurate numbers. On the second tier, I actually never pick Mania anymore. I think it's not very good because you want to be in Void Form, you don't want to stay at 100 Insanity. So I pick between Masochism and Body and Soul. Now I haven't seen a lot of people play Masochism, so again, this video is mostly my personal opinion. So if I say a talent is good or bad, that's just my opinion. It might be wrong to other people, but I mean, that's how I feel. Pretty much always go Body and Soul, first of all, because like it's really good. You can kite with it. And not just kite with it, but you can also give it to allies. Like you can shield your allies and give them a sprint, and you can do a lot of things with it. Like it has a lot of utilities. Let's say an enemy priest is coming to fear your healer. You can shield your healer so he gets like a sprint, so he doesn't get feared. Or if you play with a warlock and the warlock is trained, you can shield your warlock before he ports, and then portal removes his snares, and then he can kite. There's a lot of things you can do with body and soul. However, I sometimes play masochism. I play masochism against, for instance, TSG with Mistweaver Monk, or something like double warrior Mistweaver Monk, let's say, when I know I'm not going to do too much damage. I know they're going to sit on me the entire game. I'm not kiting anyone with body and soul. And then masochism actually scales a lot better than before because of the 20% physical damage reduction from shadow form. That means when you actually press when you heal yourself and you get masochism for 10 seconds, you will reduce, I think if my math is correct, 32 or 31 or 30 something, 32%-ish physical damage, which is actually a lot. It's a lot of damage reduction. It's really good. So that's how I play against the TSG. I just go masochism, and if they go me, I try my best to keep masochism up, at least when I know they have their burst ready, their sharpened blade, their battle cry, their I don't know, apocalypse and whatnot. I try to keep masochism up, and I think it's really good. But again, most of the times, 99%, I go body and soul. Next, this really depends on what kind of team, what kind of comp you play. Usually I go mind bomb, but that's only because I play with a warlock. If you play with a mage, or if you play with a feral, or maybe with a warrior, you might want to pick fear instead. But again, this is all about what kind of comp you play. Now the next three tiers, 1, 2, 3, the next three tiers are all good talents. Okay, so none of them are bad. I'm just gonna give you what I think and what most people think are the best talents. Now Lingering Insanity is decent if you want to go for like a lot of damage on the scoreboard, but not really bursty damage. So with Lingering Insanity, you get smaller void forms, but more often, therefore more damage at the end. So if you play something like more Rot Cleave, you might want to pick this. If you go RBGs, you might want to pick this. However, Reaper of Souls, in my opinion, feels a lot better. I play Reaper of Souls and Void Origins now. Zot said he's been playing that since Legion started, and I remember I was playing this as well in the beginning, then I swapped back, and then I went back to this, and now I'm playing this, Reaper of Souls and Void Origins, and it feels so good, it feels so smooth, especially with Shadowy Insight, which we're gonna get into in just a second. But I just wanted to mention that Void Ray is also decent. Void Ray is definitely not bad, especially with the buffs to Mind Flay. However, in Arena, especially if you play Shadowy Insight, you have a lot of things to do. You need to like dot everything, you need to mass dispel, maybe keep masochism up, maybe shield, kite, dispel, purge. So you don't really get a chance to do as much damage with Mind Flay. You do press Mind Flay and you do damage with Mind Flay, but mostly just to proc your tentacles, to be honest, and to just fill in a little bit. So let's see the damage of Mind Flay. The Mind Flay does around 263k damage in PvP, and if I press Mind Flay once, just a full Mind Flay is enough to get the full Void Ray, and now my Mind Flay is actually almost 400,000 damage, which is quite a lot of damage for Mind Flay. I mean, it's not an even bolt, but it's a lot of damage for me. So it's not bad. Void Ray is decent if you find yourself pressing Mind Flay a lot. But most of the times I just go for those big Void forms and big setup kills with Void forms. So Reaper of Souls is, in my opinion, the best one on this tier. Next one, Auspicious Spirits. You don't usually play this unless maybe you play with the Boomkin. But even then, I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of this. I feel like Shadowy Insight is just better because Mind Blast damage got buffed. Mind Blast actually does almost 300k damage now, which is, it's decent, it's not like a glacial spike, but it's a lot more than it used to be. And Shadowy Insight synergizes really well with Psychic Link, and we'll get to Psychic Link in a few minutes, I guess. But in terms of damage, Sand Lane is probably more damage, but Shadowy Insight is not just damage, it's also a lot of insanity generation, and it's instant. So even if you get trained, you can do quite decent damage, and again, get bigger Void forms and larger windows to actually get a kill. So again, all of them are good. Maybe Auspicious Spirit's not as good, but Sand Lane, I think Sand Lane is the best for BGs if you want to go for just mass damage. And Shadowy Insight, I like Shadowy Insight right now for Arena. I personally, I like it a lot more than Sand Lane, and I think most priests play Shadowy Insight now as well. Now on the next tier, Mindbender got buffed a lot. It's still bad. I really wanted Mindbender to be really good. I tried it, I really did. And it's not terrible. It's not, I wouldn't say it's garbage, like some other people would, but I think the other two are just better. If you don't get the chance to use Power Infusion to its fullest capacity, and I'll talk about that in a second, then Misery is just amazing. It frees up so many globals for you in the game. It's so easy to just dot the entire team by just pressing Vampiric Touch, especially like teams that have pets. Look, like I don't know what that was, 5 seconds, and I dotted 5-6 targets. You know, it's so easy to dot with Misery, and it, like, I got used to it. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I got used to playing Misery, and it's really good. However, if you play a comp that relies on setups, like you probably should right now because Shadow Priest is more about setups, then maybe Power Infusion is the better way to go, because if you get a proper setup with Power Infusion, it's actually a lot of damage. It's really strong damage with Power Infusion. And Zot was telling me he plays Power Infusion even against a team with a Dispeller, but not against teams that have 2 Dispellers. I would say it's good if they have just 1 Dispeller, you can like line of sight it or something. But if they have like an Enhancement Shaman, then just don't. Just do yourself a favor, don't pick Power Infusion against Enhancement Shamans. They will insta-purge it, okay? It's not worth it. So I'm trying Power Infusion. I think it's really good when you can get it off properly, like if they have no Dispel, no Purge. If they do, go Misery, always solid choice. Mindbender, still experimenting, not terrible, but not as good as the other two. And on the last tier, I actually never go anything other than Legacy of the Void. I never go Shadow Crash, even when I play Edge of Insanity, and we'll get to this soon. Now on PvP talents, I always play Medallion because I feel like I need it for Void Shift. I usually play Void Shift, so I need to either life swap myself because I'm dying, or for a teammate if he's dying. I tried Adaptation and Relentless, and sometimes they're good, but I just feel more comfortable playing Trinket. On the next tier, obviously Train of Thought, best talent in the game, obviously made for Shadow Priests. No, I'm kidding. Of course you go Mind Quickness. What the hell? Next, we have Pure Shadow. Don't even look at anything else. Void Shield got nerfed to where Vampiric Touch no longer is affected by it. So, you know, Vampiric Touch is like half of your damage. So Void Shield is actually bad. Very bad. Fleeting Embrace got nerfed, so it only heals 1 target instead of 3. So, sucks. Power Infusion, on the other hand, is pretty much a bubble on a 1 minute and 20-second cooldown. And also you can use it offensively, where it doesn't drain Insanity for 6 seconds. You can get some insane Void forms if you are able to free cast and you press Dispersion offensively with Power Infusion. You can get up to 50 stacks even, which is crazy. Like, you do unhealable damage at 50 stacks. So it's really good. You can play it defensive, offensively, whatever you want. It's really nice. Pure Shadow, the way to go. Next talent here, Driven to Madness. I don't like this iteration of Driven to Madness. I feel like it's very weak. And as I said, I feel like Void Origins with Reaper of Souls and Shadowy Insight offers that nice on-the-run instant gameplay that I really like. However, this is what I wanted to get to with this entire video, really. Edge of Insanity against Void Origins. Edge of Insanity, so against teams like Turbo or TSG or I don't know, I'm pretty sure people are going to start playing Double Warrior soon. Stuff like that. I would say go Edge of Insanity because you still do decent damage. You get 20% more damage and you don't have to leave Shadow Form. And again, Shadow Form is 20% physical damage reduction, and if you play Masochism, that's another 10%, so it stacks really well. So what I do against, let's say, Turbo, if I decide to play Edge of Insanity, is I'll stay in Edge of Insanity, I'll stay in Shadow Form until they've used cooldowns, until I know for a fact that I'm 100% okay, my healer is not in CC, there's no CC incoming, we're fine, okay, we're not dying. And then I'll just press Void Form. I don't care about Edge of Insanity. If I know I'm okay and I'll survive, I'll just hard cast Void Eruption. It's not a huge deal. If you get completely left alone, then like the only thing you lose is instant Void Form, which if you're completely left like to cast whatever you want, again, it's not a huge deal. So, you know, that's my reasoning with it. If I get attacked, it's still at least I can do 20% more damage and not worry about going into Void Form too much. And as soon as they don't have cooldowns, let's say they used Battle Cry and Sharpened Blade and Doom Winds, and they don't have those for, I don't know, 45 seconds, and I feel like I'm safe, then I can go ahead and hit Void Form, because you do a lot more damage in Void Form than you would in Edge of Insanity. That's my take on it. tell me what you think about it. I know I was talking to Zot and he said he doesn't do that. He doesn't like it. He just plays Void Origins against anything. But I'm gonna tell you right now, if you play Void Origins and you play against a warrior, like in the current meta, because you are gonna play against a lot of warriors, just be careful when you pop Void Form, because if you go in Void Form and they have cooldowns, you're gonna die. Like, you're gonna take 20% more damage, and warriors do insane damage anyway. So just be careful with that. Next tier is actually a pretty sad tier. All of them are kind of bad. Mind Trauma, I was really hyped for Mind Trauma. I really wanted Mind Trauma to be good as well. But as it is now, you don't have time to sit there and channel full Mind Flays. And plus, even if you did, you see this buff here, Mind Trauma, this debuff. Yeah, a healer, like this guy's healer could dispel that and I lose my stacks as well. And then it's just like it's wasted time, completely wasted time. I think Mind Trauma should stack with like 5% at a time, at least 3% at a time, and then it would be good. It would be like a real talent. But right now, 1%, it's terrible. Shadow Mania is really bad as well. Like, it's not a lot of insanity. The Psychic Link isn't amazing, but it adds up, I guess. So it's like it synergizes well with Shadowy Insight. It keeps things in combat. Actually, I guess they're in combat anyway since they have Shadowy Pain. But this thing has a really long range, 40 yards, and it goes through walls as well. It goes through line of sight. So that's the only nice thing about it. And it's like it's extra damage. It makes up for the fact that you don't have Sand Lane. And next, you know, in the last tier, usually I go Void Shift, sometimes I go Last Word, sometimes I go Psyfiend. If you play with a Rogue, you can go Psyfiend, I guess, because you go for those juicy setup damage with Power Infusion and Psyfiend and a big Shadow Fiend. And if you play against like a Wizard Cleave, like a Shadow Play for instance, against Shadow Play I usually pick Last Word, because if you get someone to Shadow Word death range, man, it kind of finishes the game. You for so many cooldowns, because you can silence them. You can silence them for 5 seconds, and then you can at the same time silence the healer for 5 seconds. Like, no one's playing, no one's having fun except you at that point. Like, Last Word is very good, I feel like. I actually remember saying Last Word is terrible, but I've changed my mind. Okay, Last Word is decent. So a nice, like, let me show you one more thing before I close this video, before we turn it off. Like a random, let's say you go for some burst damage. Okay, wait, not Edge of Insanity. Let me go proper talents and I'll show you how to burst. If you are left completely alone to PvE, the most damage you can do in a short duration is like how to line up your cooldowns efficiently. So you first dot your target. This is my target. I go in Void Form and I sit a bit in Void Form, let's say like 5 stacks, so it make it easy. Then I pop Shadow Fiend and you can see my Shadow Fiend right here. And when Shadow Fiend is at 20 seconds left, that's when I'm gonna pop my Power Infusion, so Shadow Fiend gets like the most effect out of it, so I'm gonna pop it now. And then when there's like 12 seconds left of Shadow Fiend, that's when I'm gonna use my Psyfiend. And at the very end, I'm gonna actually pop my Void Torrent. Let's say now it's the end. I could have stayed a bit longer. And this is unhealable damage. This right here is like, no healer can keep up with this damage unless they're using like big cooldowns. But again, you're not gonna get a setup like that ever, because usually you get trained and, you know, you have to press buttons when you can actually afford to press buttons, and you can't just wait for the full PV rotation. But I just wanted to throw that in there for maybe people who want to try doing as much damage as they can in BGs or whatnot, or even in Arena. Like, if you're left completely alone, go ahead and do that, because it gets so much damage. But that's it. Tell me what you guys think. What do you think about Edge of Insanity against Void Origins? What do you think about the Shadow Priests? Actually, if you're new to Shadow Priest, this patch, it's kind of sad. Like, Shadow is not in the best spot, especially with all the Warriors and Mistweavers and Enhancement Shamans running around. But I'm still having fun, even though I feel a little underpowered. It's still alright. I still like the utility of Shadow Priest. Mass Display is always nice. And I like making big plays with the big dispersion now, with the pure Shadow. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned something from it, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!